So good morning. Welcome everybody to our Saturday activity session. So we'll use the Saturdays mornings to explore Project Learning Tree, the early childhood guide, and some of the fun things and activities and books associated with that guide. And we'll do a little hands-on activity crafting and such to go along with that. So I am going to issue a quick poll because we are curious to know how you heard about adventures. It helps us to know where to put our energy into marketing and outreach, and so we can do a better job of reaching educators throughout the state. Perfect. That's a real mix. Okay, there, if you share those results, if you'd like to see where your colleagues are kind of learning about things. It's very split. Well, good. Okay. All right, well, I'd like to turn it over to Karly. She's our facilitator for today's session, and I'll just be here in the background. I'll be monitoring chat, or at any time, I'm sure Karly's fine with just unmuting and asking questions. This is kind of a back and forth casual session. All right. Thanks, Karly.
Well,
I'll turn it over to you.
Sounds great. Welcome, everybody. Good morning on a Saturday morning. Just a couple of things that might help because I'm going to be sharing the slides, but I'm also going to be showing you a lot of things. And on the top of your video little speaker view, you can actually select my, my image, and there's 3 little dots in the corner that'll pop up, and you can say pin to the top. And that way I'll stay in your view screen so you can see what I'm doing plus the slides as well. So that just might help as we're going through the presentation. So I'll just start with a little bit about my background and what I have been doing at our museum. There we go. Oh, I've got a lot of pictures in my slides, so it might take a second to advance them. So I am the director curator of the Jirikasuki Nature Museum. We are at Benedictine University, which is in Lisle, Illinois. So outside of Chicago, near Naperville and Aurora. The museum actually started as a teaching collection for the biology department. So it was never really intended to be a museum. And it started around the 1920s. And that collection amassed to over 10,000 things. And so by 1971, when they opened the first science building on campus, they decided to turn it into a museum. And that was the first time that all of these specimens were available to the public. In 2001, we moved into our current location, which is in Burke Hall on campus. That's the new big science building. And we got about 3,900 square feet space in the center of the building. And in that space, we have about 3,500 things. So it's jam-packed. Whenever we reopen, I would love to have you come. If you would like a tour, please let me know. We are currently closed. We've been closed since March 13th. So this year has been filled with a bunch of challenges, as I'm sure it has been for you too. We had always specialized in hands-on and the experiences at the museum. So virtual learning and virtual resources were brand new. So last summer, that is what my students and I delved into. And so now we have some virtual resources. On our website, we have a lot of different resources and worksheets and things. We also started a new podcast. They're short, usually about 10-minute little podcast sessions. So that's available on Anchor.fm. It's also on Spotify and 6 other different streaming services. And then our Facebook and Instagram, we always have different things popping up on there too. So I would actually like to learn a little bit about you guys, and we're going to switch to a Mentimeter right now. So if you can get on your phone or just minimize this and switch over to the internet and go to menti.com. I think it is. I can't see it anymore. It's at the top. And then there's this little code that you can put in. And I would really like to know, what are your, what's kind of holding you back, or what are some challenges that you're having in incorporating nature experiences into your learning space. And we'll just give a second to get some responses from that. Megan, can you see the code? I can't see it anymore. It's at the top of my thing, and this is docked up there. There we go. I see some people getting in.
Yes, the code's there. Sorry.
Can someone just say the code out loud? Since I pinned the speaker, all I can see is Karly.
Oh, sure. Oh. I can pop it in the chat. Would that be helpful, or I can just read it out loud? Which would you prefer?
Out loud is fine.
5217853. Oh, Jenny got it. Thank you.
All right, so we have not much experience, some time, not enough time for planning, minimal resources. I know what a shoestring budget is. Hopefully some of these things we'll talk about today will be within your reach and ability. Yeah, the last year with COVID and the changes that we've had, I know that that's been tough on everybody. Planning space, yep, a limited prep time. So a lot of us are facing the same kinds of challenges. Urban environment, too, for urban environment, yes, I hear you there. All right, is that everybody? I'm gonna make sure everybody got in, had their voice. All right, so let's switch back here. There we go. All right, so I'm hopefully going to provide some new ideas, some things that you can do on a shoestring budget. That's how we've built up our collection. Our education collection over the years. We've just done it little by little, some little grants at a time, right? Whatever we can get our hands on. And we've gotten pretty creative, so I'm hopefully going to share some of those ideas with you. It shouldn't be complicated. We can get really into all the details and overcomplicate it. But the essence of nature play is that it's not complicated. And kind of taking a step back and looking at it in a different way, hopefully will help with that. Exploring nature is a complete sensory experience, and getting outside and into nature, you're trying to foster that wonder and curiosity, especially in the early childhood stage. Getting the right answer or knowing exactly what something is, that's not the point. They don't need to know exactly what things are, and you don't need to correct them. Sometimes they're just in their imaginary state, and if you say, oh, that's not this, that's that's not a beetle, it's a ladybug, they'll be like, well, but not in my story. So try not to interrupt their natural wonder and curiosity. Bringing nature inside you can definitely do that. If you don't have much of an outdoor space or you're still building it, that's fine. You can bring nature inside the classroom. And the more that kids are exposed to, displays of nature objects, natural objects, the more comfortable they are with them, and the more they'll incorporate them into their own play. So start simple. You can start with just supporting their adventures as you go outside. Regularly go outside and add time for unstructured play. Kids now, a lot of things are very structured. Their time is planned out for them. And I know when my time is planned out for me, I feel very, stifled. They get that same feeling. They don't want all of their time planned out. They want to have time for unstructured, just free time to explore and use their imaginations. And that's the structure that we want to give them, a safe place to play whatever they feel like playing. I would definitely urge you to stress process over product. Especially when we get into something to take home. It's usually a craft and it's usually product oriented, right? You want something to give to show the work they did. The really meaningful stuff doesn't have a lot to show. It's the process. It's messy. It's usually ephemeral, so it goes away quickly, but it teaches them the most. And it doesn't have to be perfect. They're learning how to do all of these things. They're brand new. If they're learning how to do scissors, they've never done that before. They're not going to be as good at cutting things out as you are. But if you do it for them, you're just showing them that you're good at cutting things out. It's not letting them learn that task. So try to step aside. It's messy, that's good. So art is usually process oriented, and crafts are usually product oriented. There's a place for both. I'm not, counting out crafts. They're fun and they have their place too. But let them, have their process as well. And be child led. Every single craft does not need to look the same. And that's okay. If they want to make a spy scope instead of binoculars, let them. So figure out what your main goal is. What exactly are you trying to teach? If you're doing, directions, then they would be following the directions. If it's just a playtime or a free experience, then let it be. And allow for individual differences. Everybody's different, and we want to celebrate those things. And nature really lets us do that in a very unique way, in a very natural way. And then I would very much warn you to figure out your own reservations. If you don't like snakes, and I get it, some people really have had a bad experience, usually in their childhood, and they really are adverse to certain things. If you don't like a certain thing, like snakes or spiders, then don't teach about it, because you are going to impart that to them. And I don't think that's fair to them to pick up on those things, but they do. Kids pick, oh my gosh, right? They're sponges. They pick up on everything. So if you say, oh, a spider, yuck, they're going to think, oh, spiders are yucky. That's what I'm supposed to learn, right? But if you instill that sense of wonder of, wow, a spider, what patterns does it have on it? What colors? What, make it something cool, then they'll think spiders are cool, right? And you have that magic right there at the tip of your fingers. To inspire or to scare them. And that's a lot of pressure, but just knowing your own bias and trying to kind of quell your initial knee-jerk reaction to certain things, and make it something that's curiosity inspired instead, will very much help as you go through and do nature experiences. So when we're introducing the themes in this activity and the shape of things, I want to encourage you to talk about shapes. Young children don't have the words, right? They need to help build their vocabulary. So if you just hold up a shape and ask them what it is, oh, I was gonna change my background so you could actually see me. Hold on one second. But if you just hold up a shape and ask, what is this? They'll have a one-word answer, right? Because there's a one-word correct answer. It's a rectangle, it's a square, it's a circle, whatever. But if you hold something up and you describe it for them, this is a square because it has 4 equal sides, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a circle because it's round, or this is an oval because it's round, but it's elongated. It's longer in the middle. You're giving them a whole lot more words, right? There's all these different things that they're being exposed to, and they don't have to try to figure out the right answer either. You're describing it to them. You're giving them that answer and those words. And that really does help them as they're going along, and helps build their confidence. Then they know for sure, oh, that's a square, right? That's that shape. And so they'll know for next time. So I do encourage you to help give them some new vocabulary and some new words. And my 3-year-old can say Tyrannosaurus Rex. Don't be afraid of big words, right? There's no such thing as big words. They can learn them. They can figure out what they are, and it just takes us to help give them those words. So introduce various objects. It's a good time to introduce, natural objects. So these are called tree cookies usually, or cross sections of tree branches. I actually get a lot of my supplies like this from craft stores. They're very nice. They're already sanded. They're really easy to just take out of the bag and grab and go. And it makes it a lot easier to incorporate natural objects. But we also do collect things like, sticks and branches and things like that as we're out on our nature walks, and just let them dry out and, incorporate them into your nature play too. You'll notice when you start mixing the two that kids will naturally separate them. You can see here in this first picture, this is my son, and I just gave him all this stuff, and he set up his play space. And all of the cut out shapes went in one area, and they're even like contained. And then the nature play stuff is kind of everywhere else. And that's, kind of their natural sorting, but they usually keep them separate. In the activity, they actually suggest kind of leading that sorting by, giving them some objects and then, saying, okay, sort all the round things here, or all the square things here, the triangle things. So there's some natural sorting that can go on there. But if you just let them do it, they usually keep them separated. And then incorporate music. So there's a fun activity in the book, Singing with Leaf Shapes. And there's a template that you can use. So here on the bottom is just one of the pages. I believe there's 2 pages that come with it. And Project Learning Tree is great about these different handouts and these wonderful things that you can easily cut and color and incorporate. But I would also urge you to use the real thing. I am a queen of lamination, but it works so well to incorporate these things and have them last. I have a set of these that I use for our outreach programs that have probably been handled by at least 2,000 kids over the last 4 years when we've used them. And I still use exactly the same ones. They hold up really well over time. I did test this out a lot and abused my laminator, and it's still going strong. I have a Scotch brand thermal laminator. You do need the hot press kind. And I get the 5mm lamination sheets. They're real thick, and they laminate really, really well. And here I even have like the seed pods. It did get crushed in there, but it turned out really cool anyway. So this is a linden tree. And then I also did it with a maple tree. And even these are really thick. I wasn't sure how this was going to go through, but it did. And these bigger ones, I actually run through the laminator twice just to make sure that it's really, bound well. So again, I do abuse the laminator. But these, these leaves and things like that, you can incorporate into these kind of play activities. I even did a piece of bark this time, just a little piece, but it smooshed down real well and did that as well. So, if you have a laminator at work or you have one, at home, I use the one from work just in case I break it. But they actually do hold their color up well too. And these, because they're, in the hot press laminator, it does really bind really well. These can be seen under the microscope. So we actually have a microscope that we'll take out with our outreach and put one of these underneath it. And it's like an already prepped slide, and you can really see a lot of the detail and things like that in the leaves. So those are some things I hope that you'll take from that too. I laminate everything. So with our differences between our natural and built objects, just incorporating some things that they are familiar with maybe some new things, some natural objects that maybe they haven't been incorporating into their play before. So those kind of things are pretty fun and easy to incorporate. Oh. I hope it doesn't go past this one. This one takes a little bit to load because there's a lot of photos in this one. So we incorporate a lot of different natural objects into our daily play now that we're at home. So my husband and I are working from home full time, and we also have our 3-year-old with us full time. So a lot of the times I set up an activity for him to do independently, and he kind of sits right next to me where I'm working at my desk space, and we work together. I know a lot of times there's this tendency to set up a play space before the kids come in. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I have noticed that when you set up a tray table with a display, like a really presentation style display, the kids are tenuous. They don't really want to mess it up, right? And so they'll just kind of look at it and be like, can I touch it? And they will hesitate before they'll get in and play with it. What we usually do is I actually just set up the space. So sometimes I'll put out these green pieces of material, and these are just material remnants I got at the store. They're real, cheap, whatever's in the discount bin, for a couple dollars. But they make a great mat to play on. And sometimes we'll just use, our table or the ottoman and kind of set them up together. And I just put the bucket of natural things right next to it. So when he starts, it's a clean slate. And he sets that up. So in this top left corner, he set that whole play space up. He ordered everything, he kind of sorted things out some. In the top right, you can see in kind of the middle, we added a little bit of tissue paper, and he made a campfire. And he must have played with that for 45 minutes, all sorts of different stories and things like that went around this little campfire. We also, we made a geo board a few years ago for the museum. And since we're not using it right now, we use it at home. But I just got this from, I think Hobby Lobby or Michael's. And it's just a round cross section. And then we used, I think they're trim nails. They're little nails, but they don't have any, real head on the top. And then every inch, we just made a grid pattern. And then you can get these, colored rubber bands or, whatever rubber bands you happen to have. And then you can make different shapes. Now, I made these shapes, but he's, he started out where he'd make these big long lines, lots of great, dexterity and things like that he's working on. But now you can see in the other thing, he started to make triangles and squares, and so we're kind of branching out in the shapes that he's making on those. But it's a lot of fun, and that'll keep him entertained for quite a while. And then down on the bottom, we just pulled out some chalk and some black construction paper, and pulled out the rocks, right? We have a lot of different kinds of stones. And he just kind of circled those and was going around and outlining. And so there's different things like that that are real easy. It doesn't, cost a lot of money. They come together really easily, and they can be used over and over and over again, which I really enjoy. So for our first activity, our first part of the activity one, is the shape walk. And so for the shape walk, we have different shapes and things like that you can cut out. So again, I laminated them. If you're gonna just use it once, you don't have to laminate anything. But with little fingers, they will get kind of scrunched and crushed. So I really enjoyed using the laminator because it makes it firmer, and it was much easier for my son to lace them up. When we do this in summer camps at the museum, we don't laminate anything. The kids just cut things out and they can lace it on okay. I would definitely suggest using, and I just dropped it, a shoelace. You can use yarn or string or whatever you have, but the shoelaces are nice because they've got that hard end, and it's much easier, especially for very little fingers, they don't get so frustrated with it. And these are boot shoelaces, and they actually have quite a long, laminated end on the end. And so it fits his finger on it, plus it fits whatever you're, lacing on. And it just gives them a little bit more confidence because it works a little bit better. I know with the yarn, it'll get frayed on the end and kind of be this puffy thing that's a little bit harder to string on there. So just a suggestion from our trial and error. The other thing that you can do, and I did test this out because, we use a lot of construction paper, and it's a cheap, easy thing. It's got a lot of different colors. It's fun and flashy. But I wanted to just test out what I could make with one of these. So I had 2 of these. So I had an extra maple leaf, and I actually went through and I wanted to see how many shapes I could make out of it. And from one leaf, I got quite a few different shapes. And, I had pressed this one already. I would definitely suggest cutting them out when they're kind of a fresh leaf, and then pressing them in a book for a couple of days. That would probably work a little bit better because these were pretty brittle. But even if you don't do that, you can cut these out. I don't know how easy these leaf shapes would be for kids to cut them out. They were a little tricky for me, but they do work really well if you wanted to make something for them to use. I do want to point out, again, with that process over product, that when kids are cutting out their shapes, they're not going to be perfect, right? They're going to be a little wonky, and that's okay. That's their process, right? That's their shape. If you're going to make them for them, that's fine. But if you want them to have that experience with the scissors and things like that, I would use the template to give them a good thick line as a guide to use. And then whatever comes out, and that's their shape, right? And it might not be perfect, but they'll know what it is because they made it. And that's fine. It doesn't have to be like this perfect cookie cutter kind of looking necklace that I made. We also, we added pony beads to ours. That's something we've been working on because he needed to work more on lacing and things like that. Now everyone in our family has a pony bead necklace. But that's just kind of a fun thing that you can add into at home. You can make them into little, handheld things or bracelets as well. I like the necklace because if we're going outside, if it's a bracelet or something that he's holding onto, it's going to automatically be handed back to me. Where a necklace is something he's wearing and his hands are free to explore still. So that's just our preference, is we like the necklace version. You can set that up as an open-ended activity or a directed craft that you all kind of do together. Again, when you're identifying the shapes, help them build their vocabulary and add in some descriptive words and things like that. You can start inside. You can also make these outside if you have the space and things like that. But you can, it's a nice kind of bridge between an inside craft and then an outside exploration. So make your shapes necklace, and if you have your shapes now, go ahead and make your necklace. We can, wear them at the end. You have a template in the resources. Hopefully you all saw the resources for this session. So you can go ahead and cut out your shapes, string them on your necklace. It's pretty straightforward. So, and then, once you have that and kind of have the, what are we looking for when we're going outside, you can take this outside and go explore. And I would definitely leave some time for open exploration. When you get outside, there's usually a lot of details, and toddlers are really great at getting into those different details. Young children really pick up on that a lot. But, if you're going out and looking for different shapes, you can go on a nature walk. You can walk on the sidewalk. We live in a very urban area. We're in an apartment building. I can't just open the back sliding door and, we don't have a fenced yard or anything like that. So we have a lot of sidewalk to cover before we get to the park. And, that's fine. That's a fun thing to do. You know, we found a lot of shapes in the sidewalk too. But there's shapes all around you. So just getting outside and having that experience, you know, that's a great thing to do. I see we have a hand up. Jennifer, do you have something to say? Jump in.
Yeah, I have a question. Like you mentioned you use this like in camp. So how much time would you have like younger kids in a camp session?
So when we do our summer camps, we actually have kids between kindergarten and 12 years old. And we have them for 45 minutes. So we usually go through the museum a little bit, and then we have about 20 minutes to do a craft project and things like that with them. And then they will take this with them during the day, and they'll actually do the like nature walk with their camp counselors after our session, just because that's the, you know, spacing, because we have one group right after another between 8 and 4.
Okay.
So, you know, we usually have about 20 minutes or so to do this activity. And it, you know, for some kids, for the younger kids, it might take a little bit longer to have the, you know, cutting experience and things like that. For the older kids, it goes by pretty quick, and then we can, you know, kind of do something else with them. So it does depend on the age. Yeah. I see there's something else in that chat. Oh, okay. So, you know, whatever space you have outside, even if it's, you know, if you're at a daycare center and you have, you know, an outdoor space there, even if it's, you know, got jungle gyms and things like that in there, there's a lot to see out there, right? There's a lot of shapes to find. So whatever outdoor space you have, use it. And wherever, you know, whatever you can go out and explore. You know, if you have a park or something like that nearby where you can get into a little bit more natural area or nature space with more trees and things like that, that's great. But if you don't have that space, use what you have. And if you can add a tree to that space, I always suggest to do that. When you're outside, you can play things like I Spy. I would suggest taking photographs of the things that the kids discover. Maybe one per kid kind of thing to limit the number of photographs. Otherwise you end up with as many as I do. And then again, just time to explore. If you do have kind of a contained space, you can still use it in a different way, right? I know at my son's, when he was in daycare before we, you know, all of COVID happened, they would actually sit at the fence line and they would look out into the space next to them. And look at the different trees and you watch the cars and things like that. So even if you have a contained space, you can still use the space beyond that, and, you know, playing I Spy and things like that. And then when you come back inside, have a wrap up and bring everybody together and share those different things that they saw. You know, what do you remember seeing outside? Let's see. So another thing that you can do when you're outside and exploring, oh, there we go, is I take a lot of pictures, but you can actually make a shapes guide. And so that's another suggestion in the activity. And I actually made a couple of things that we can use. These I got from, I had these done at Walgreens, and they just had a sale. So 8 by 10 picture was like $2, I think. And they make these nice little collages. I think you can have up to 19 photos on one collage. And that's just a you know, collage template. So I just kind of dropped the photos in. They can also just set it up for you and randomly, you know, you just put the photos in and they'll pop into this template. And then I laminated these because then they're real rigid and they'll hold up for quite a while. Because otherwise, you know, if it gets wet, it'll smudge. But these, you know, work really well for, you know, going out and about. You can use these inside the classroom. You can make them for different seasons or by different colors or by shapes or by textures. There's a lot of different things that you can do. But it helps create that sense of space and community because these are all the things that the kids already discovered, right? And then they can share, oh, I found that flower or I found that piece of wood. And that's their thing in their space that they connected with. Another way to do these things is to actually, I got just a 99-cent photo book, you know, photo album. They were, you know, at the dollar store, they're real cheap. And you can make the shape guide in here. So again, I used Walgreens photo sale and printed out a bunch of our pictures and then just popped them into this photo book. These hold up pretty well over time. We've had, my 3-year-old plays with this all the time, and it's pretty good shape still. But you can have a lot of different pictures in here. I think this one holds like 36 photos. And that can be your shapes guide. And posting these up around your classroom and things like that, this can be a really easy way to incorporate those nature components into your space. And again, it's fairly cheap and inexpensive. You can take these photos on your phone or have a digital camera, a kid's version of the camera, let them take some pictures. But finding these different shapes and textures and things like that just all around you, it's really fun, and putting them together and having these memories together, these collective memories that you're building, really helps them have that sense of place. So the other activity we have is the binoculars one. So if you have your toilet paper tubes, and come on, 2020, we all have a lot of these, right? You can decorate them however you'd like. You can add tape, or I staple things together. I know, some of the centers and things like that, you might not be able to use staples, but you can either glue them or tape them together. If you're going to use them for a while, I would suggest like a duct tape around the center kind of thing, just so that they hold up. And then punch holes in the sides and add a little string, and then you can add your necklace part so that they don't have to hold on to it. And even though these don't have any magnification or anything like that, they actually do work really well to limit your field of vision. And so it helps you hone in on things. So kids are able to focus on those details and just see a little bit of their viewpoint at a time. And it helps them pick out those different things. One thing you can do is, in your outdoor space, is set up little animals or things to find and go on a scavenger hunt with them. And they have to use their little binoculars to find those things. Or just go out on your nature walk. Again, I like the necklace part, because then they can hold on to them as they go. And if you have, kids that have issues with grip or need a little bit extra help holding on to things, these craft sticks work really well, popsicle sticks. I actually, again, abused my stapler to see if it would work. And it did. My stapler came through with flying colors. But I actually just tried to staple right through the wood and the cardboard, and it worked really well. And this just adds a little bit extra something to hold on to. And it makes it a little bit easier to hold if you need a little bit extra help for that. So those kind of things, hopefully will have a little bit of extra boost for those. But this can be just something that's kind of out on the table. You can use paint or crayons or markers. Markers usually work well because you don't have to press as hard to get the color on there. And stickers, there's a lot of different things that you can do with these. So however you kind of have your craft table and things like that set up. And then again, with the handouts that Project Learning Tree has together, there's the Tangram Puzzle. So this is something that the kids can color in and make these different shapes, into whatever colors or drawings that they want to do. And then you cut it apart, and you can actually make a lot of different things with them. So we actually, just for Christmas, got this Melissa and Doug set. I really love this set. But you can make these, you don't have to buy anything with them. You can actually make this same kind of thing with those same laminated, construction paper shapes that you have. So you can cut out different shapes and do the same kind of thing with it. But when you have, either this true Tangram puzzle where it's these certain shapes, or if you just cut out, different shapes to put them together, there's a lot of these kind of templates online that you can print out and have them match up the shapes and things like that to make, a bigger image. Or they can just build on their own and figure out, what shape or what animal that they would want to kind of make with these different shapes. And it really helps them kind of put together in a visual sense how larger shapes are made up, right? That everything's made up of these different shapes. And that can actually build that foundation for how to draw. Because when you draw, and you're learning how to draw, you usually find the shapes in things first and then do the outline, right, of whatever you're doing. So there's a little bit of fundamentals there that you're building for them as they grow. And then in the end of this activity, there's a little half page that has the same information, this family and friends. But PLT actually provides this full printable handout. And so these are really great to engage the caregivers when the kids go home. So this is the kind of thing that you can say, you know, we did all this cool stuff. You know, today we were looking at all of these different things. Here's some things that you can do at home to kind of continue these lessons, to continue these activities on your own as a family. So this is a great little caregiver guide that they have for the different activities, and that's posted under our resources as well. The music and movement, don't forget that you have this awesome CD that comes with the guide. If you're like me and can't remember where your CD is, they do have it fully downloadable on the website as well. And that's what I had to do, is download it again. But this can be a really great way to engage, you know, those gross motor skills, get things, you know, up and running. A good way to kind of get the zoomies out, get the jiggles out when you come back in. I will play real quick. My music. Oh, hold on, advanced. There we go. All right. I'll just play a little bit of this for you. And I just wanted to point out, this is track 1. And this kind of goes along in the activity book with the leaf dance. So kind of, you know, something you can inspire of how would a leaf move if it's falling, or how is it moving in the wind? And then how does that correspond to this you know, music track? And you can kind of think of the different ways that a swirly twirly leaf would behave, you know, in conjunction with this music. So that's just a bit of actually the middle of that track. So you can kind of get an idea of just the differences that one track has. So it starts out with you know, some fast-paced music, goes into that excerpt from the Nutcracker, and then has a couple different things in there. So please be sure to check out the music. There's some really fun different kind of tracks in there. Let's see. There we go. So we're going to go back to our Mentimeter, and we'll go on to the next one. Get it to work. There we go. So the code again is 5217853. And I'd like to know, you know, if you have some ideas of things that you'd want to add or enhance to your learning space. So hopefully there's been some ideas that have popped up today, but maybe these things have made you think of something else as well. So, you know, if you could add anything, what is it that you would add to your space? Nice, lots of different things. So can you guys all see that too? Yeah, okay, good. All right, we've got some great word cloud things coming. So hopefully, you know, there's some easy things that you can incorporate. Again, start simple, start small. You know, it looks like there's a lot of different things that you guys want to incorporate. And I hope that you can, right? That these are accessible, easy things that you can tie in pretty quickly into your classroom or your home. Awesome. Yeah, and these you know, these tree blocks, you can make these at home. You know, you don't have to go buy them. I would encourage you, you know, to use whatever you have available. Buckthorn works really well. One of those invasive species that a lot of places are, you know, pulling out natural areas and things like that. So if you see a buckthorn pull in your area, I would suggest you go, you know, help volunteer and then take some of that cut wood home and chop it up, and it makes you know, really great tree cookies and sticks and things like that. Just make sure it's dried out and you know, ready to use. You sand it lightly. Yeah, so that's those are great. That's a great word cloud we made. Lots of different rocks. The laminated bark and leaves, I'm glad that you guys liked that idea. I love those. They're so easy and they last forever. They're really easy to clean right now too, right? That's a big thing. And so those are easy to wipe off. And you know, you can buy, you know, pre-made, you know, bulletin board leaves and things like that. We got this set, you know, just to kind of hang around our classroom, you know, or bedroom space. But, you know, I mean, they're really easy to go out and make your own too, and have these real, you know, natural parts. And, you know, these go on a bulletin board just as easily. So, you know, get creative with how you set up those different spaces. All right, let's go back here real quick. And start our thing again. There we go. And we did that. So just some other tips. Set it up as a routine, right? If you're not comfortable with this, go outside for just a little bit at a time, and adding more time in regularly, you know, just a little bit every day. That'll build up quickly. And, you know, you will get more confident as an educator going out with the kids, and they will get more confident and familiar with what's going on outside. Engage all the senses. There's a lot of different games and things that you can play, things that you can smell outside, things that you can see and touch. Go on a texture walk, right? See what other textures you can see. Tree rubbings and things like that are fun to add in. So begin simple, and give them time to use their imaginations. You know, I mean, when you go outside, you really don't have to do much. Don't feel like you have to be doing something all the time. Let them learn on their own, because they will. And, you know, this is really inherent for them. It's natural for them to be outside and to be in nature. It's really only been the last 100 years that we've been confined to a desk, right, or a classroom space. So let them have that freedom to go out and explore and use their imaginations in whatever outdoor space you have. And try to have, you know, this unstructured play space, your yes zone. So an area that they can, you know, play in, that is safe for them, that they can jump and run, use their bodies, but it, you know, that is a safe place for them to do that. And there's a lot of different suggestions. That's a whole nother presentation on that. But look into that and see what you can add to your play spaces that has more natural parts that you can add inside and outside. Emphasize the experience, right? There doesn't have to be something that you take home. A lot of learning and things like that is very ephemeral. It comes and goes. It's an experience, you know, that happens in the moment. And I encourage you to let that happen. And then, you know, help engage and support caregivers at home. You know, whether the parents are really on board with nature play and know the importance and appreciate the experiences or not, add some education, add some easy things that they can do at home to start incorporating these things as well so that they feel comfortable and that, you know, you can all kind of bridge this gap and get more nature in throughout their whole lives. I am also a big fan of using books to connect with nature. It gives kids a safe space to explore things before they're going outside. They can learn that things like, you know, mud and guck and things like that outside are okay and are good things to explore. And they can also help with that educational component. One book that we really love is this bird songs book. And we don't have a lot of toys that have batteries, but this is one that we really enjoy because it has a lot of the different birds and a really great picture of them. But then it also has their calls. So each of these has the different calls of these different birds. And so my son now knows all of these different birds and he can identify them as we go outside and go around. You know, he'll point these out as we go. And I just love that. You know, it gives him a different way to explore, you know, his world around him. I'd also suggest this one, which is Little Owl's Night. And this is all about nocturnal animals. And it kind of goes through this little owl kind of meeting and greeting everybody as he goes through his evening. And then what it's like to go to sleep in the morning. And he asks his mother what day is like, and she starts describing it, but he's already asleep. So it's a really cute little book about nighttime. And then in the PLT guide, one of the books that they suggest for this activity is The Shape of Things. And this is a really fun book. We just got this, you know, when I started planning this activity. And it kind of goes through what you can do with these different shapes, you know, and again, how they build into other things and how everything is kind of made up of a shape. And you know, the different shapes that you can pick out in the world around you. So kind of giving a different perspective and things like that. So if you guys have any ideas or other books that you would like to suggest, we'd love to hear those. If you don't want to share anything, I'll kind of open it up for discussion and things like that. We just have a few minutes left.
Hi. Excuse me. I also have he's gonna turn 3 in like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a lot of activities with him as well. I don't have it handy, but we also have this book with all the different animals. And like you said, it's like after he reads and reads all over again, well, you know, we see the pictures and we read the names and where do they live. It's like he starts like learning. And it's hard to go outside right now, but it's something kind of that I try to incorporate when I'm at home with him.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, and kids love to learn about different animals and identifying them, and you know, you can tie a lot of things into that too, colors and things like that. Yeah, that's fun.
And
in the resources
during the summer,
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, during the summer, we had pictures of all the animals that were around us, and we laminated them for the playground and had a little like score sheet. So if they seen a deer, they could check it off. It was real, like, oh, look, they paid more attention to what was around them and the way, it was a real nice thing to do.
Nice, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, get them noticing those, right? Add to that perspective. And if you do want to engage with citizen science, Project Squirrel is a really easy, fun way to do that with any age group. Project Squirrel is a free thing. You can download the app, and as you see squirrels in the area, you just track them, and you're contributing to citizen science. So you can do that just in your own activities, or you can do that as part of a bigger project too. So yes, that's a great way to get kids more observant. Awesome. And in the resources for this activity on the Moodle, I made a reading list that's basically like our nature library. But I have a bunch of different book ideas too for those suggestions of things that connect with nature. So Megan, do you want to do the spin the wheel? So we have 2 things that we're going to give away, so we'll do spinning twice. And this is a sun print kit. So in the activity book, there's a suggestion to make sun prints. And they actually make special paper for this. You can do this with any construction paper. You lay some things on top of it and let it sit out in the sun, right? And it'll change the color of the paper. And so the shadow will block it and keep it the right color or the same color. And then the rest will kind of be bleached out. And so you can do that as a morning activity, pick it up in the afternoon during a real sunny day. And that'll happen. But this paper actually does it a little bit quicker, and it's kind of made for that. So we have 2 of these to hand out for this.
All right, I have our wheel of names. I've got everybody in there. I think we're gonna run this if you win, or if you've won in the past, if you win today, you'll be ineligible to win things moving forward, just to keep it fair. So, all right, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Elizabeth gets 1 kit. And do 1 more.
Yeah.
And Karen P. All right, I'll get those in the mail to you. You should see those in just a few days.
Awesome.
Thanks so much, Karly. That was a really fun session. I have my binoculars with me.
Everybody has theirs. If you made them, you can make them afterwards too.
Necklace.
It's
Yeah.
fun, right?
Very good.
Yeah, my son loves to use those off of our balcony. He watches the cars. Oh, nice. And our necklaces too. Yeah. Awesome. Nice. I'm glad you guys made some along with us. Well, thank you. This is so much fun. I hope you enjoyed and got some new activities and ideas. Feel free to reach out to me. You have my contact information. And whenever we can open up again, when the museum's open, I would love to give you guys a tour if you can make it. So yeah, I applaud you all for learning more about nature play and incorporating these new ideas into your spaces and with your kids.
Awesome. And our next session is Tuesday with Marilyn Brink. She'll be our keynote. And then next Saturday, we'll be doing another one of these live activity sessions with Natalie. So it'll be a lot of fun. So thanks so much, and hope to see you all on Tuesday afternoon.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Get outside.
Thank you.